one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's do the highway supervisor report.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
What does it say, Chiefs on there again?
Not today.
24.
Well, we had a busy weekend. Storm recovery, we got a large cleanup in process as we speak because of last Friday's storms. High water in most areas is beginning to recede, but as of 7 o'clock this morning, we still had 24 roads that were covered with water and or debris. So in a lot of cases, impassable. So many roads have down trees that'll need to be cleared, and corn stalks are a major problem in a lot of areas. I'd seen quite a few of our river bottoms collected in full. We're going to be hauling corn stalks for probably a good week. And that usually doesn't pay like regular corn does.
Our question is, what do you do with those?
There are some places, some farmers will take them because they'll fill a lot of the valleys and stuff, but they'll use it and disc it into their fields, and it helps with.
So you've got a place for them?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so just getting around and getting that done. And so we're going to be recovering probably for at least a week, if not more. So, but it was something. Construction work began Wednesday of last week on the office. Schrering's moved in and started putting studs and everything out. We've got electricians coming in today or tomorrow to start putting boxes in and run conduit and everything. So it's moving along nicely, and we're hoping we can be back in our offices before the 4th of July.
Not long.
That long, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
I know, just you're like,
Yeah, no.
sorry.
I'm hoping much sooner.
Now we have
Put you off here.
Next item up, railroad crossing improvement on County Road 450 North, Brad Schneer. Wabash Valley Produce is working on an expansion in Du Bois, which includes the improvement of railroad crossings on County Road 450 North by the Du Bois elevator. It's an area that all of the crossings aren't used. It's a low spot with poor drainage, and we've tried with the railroad several times to get that area patched. It continues to bust up because of the moisture and everything. So our Wabash Valley is planning on taking out those 4 crossings and building 2 new crossings to go in to supplement what they need to do. So it's going to be elevated just a little bit, but it's going to be done in concrete, so it provides a lot better structure than the asphalt would. And we're also doing different things to divert the water and try to get the water away from the crossing to help it last. So they'll be doing that crossing. As I said, it'll all be concrete, and we're going to come in with our approaches and kind of match that. So there'll be temporary road closures on that thing until the project is complete, but they are providing a go around through there so the traffic can still get in and out. I think there's 1 or 2 homes back there that have to get through, as well as their commerce and feed to the turkey houses on the back. So, but if everything goes well, the work could begin anywhere between 4 and 8 weeks from now, so just FYI. Next item, Brady Hossey is a driver for District 2. He began his career here in August of 2021. He informed me here just recently that he plans to begin a dream of his by starting his own business. His last workday is planned for March 17th. Braden's been a really good addition in the short time that he's been here. Been a good hard worker, just digs in. He's a good kid, and gonna miss him. I wish him well in his endeavor. Will be his last day will be March 17th, and he does leave here on good terms, and wish him the best of luck. With that, District 2 driver replacement. We were looking into, we had just recently conducted some interviews, and looking at some of those, we also had a new one come in right behind that deadline, but within good striking distance of that to count. We did get together. I called Marky and had him come in, and we did an interview with him. Very good fella. He appears to be, his experience and background mirror a lot of what we're doing as he is. Yeah, so he's a certified welder. He's got experience running equipment, good clean CDL record, and he does have repair experience on some equipment as well. So born a farm boy, I mean, he's not afraid to work, and very exceptional person. So we had that interview with him, and we all felt.
Yeah, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. We all made it work. He was available, so I said, let's just go ahead and conduct it. And excellent candidate, good references, and I basically mirror everything Steve said. One of those candidates that come around and you want to latch on to him. You don't want to let him go too long, because I feel like he's going to be a great asset. So
Yeah. So with your approval, we did do a pre-employment screen with him. He's passed, and I'd be happy to recommend the hiring of Joshua Lang as our new District 2 driver with your approval.
Anyone have an issue with that or any questions for Steve on Joshua Lang?
Sounds perfect.
Thank you. Sanitation site lease. The lease to the Ireland dumpster site is expiring. We have a renewal that has been signed by the attorney of the bishop, Joseph Siegel, to extend the agreement for another 5-year period beginning May 7th of 2023 at a rate of $425 a year. So with your approval, I need signatures on this.
I'll move that we approve the contract with the bishop for the lease for the 5-year period.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Did Mr. Schneider look at this?
Greg's in over.
I'm an over.
Did Greg look at this, just in case there's anything?
Oh, he has. I can look at it real quick.
Yeah.
And just approve it pending my.
I said we'll have Greg look at it before we do final execution, I guess, but should be fine. We've got a good relationship there so far.
Not emotionally fired.
You guys want to formally put the hire in the let's just do it. I'll move that we approve Josh Lang.
One second.
All in favor of the motion?
All right.
Aye. Motion carries.
You just Craig?
Yeah. Quick look at it.
Yes, sir.
Holy cow. I printed everything you sent me. Look it over there. Like 3 pages.
Just print that second one.
Oops. You got time to read that at 4:10?
Haven't you seen that meme? Like this, I read it.
You're giving what's trade secret.
It's 2,000 pages, you have till the morning to vote on it.
I just saw it.
And last item up, I have the 2022 annual operational report here for your approval. I think I had sent you all an email Friday if you had a chance to take a look at it.
I started looking at it. I got a question here, maybe this is a Sandy question. The numbers look really large on some of these areas, but that's because it's in and out, and every time it's in and out, it bumps numbers up, correct? That's why that's like that.
You buy a big CD 12 times, it's,
Reinvestment.
That's what I assumed, so the first I was looking at this, I'm like, I don't think their budget's this high.
it's still a receipt and a disbursement.
Because it shows you received $32 million in Cuban Bridge.
$3 million CDs.
It's just the same thing as doing.
Yeah, it looks a lot bigger than it.
But otherwise, I looked at it and everything seemed in order to me. Anybody have any comments, questions about the annual report? Like the mileage change thing, I thought that was an interesting part. So why are the negatives here? We had gravel, conversion of gravel to chip seal. Wouldn't that be a positive number?
Well, actually, I looked at that too, but it works out when you take away, I think some of the dirt
Roads became gravel roads, and once you did all of that math, it still works out to 136.
Oh, okay, so some roads, we lost some roads because we added that road.
Yeah.
Makes sense, one road.
The mileage stayed the same, but we're subtracting from one and adding to another.
We didn't create any more roads, we just changed how they were, what they were, yeah. Okay, sounds good.
So
Anybody have any comments on that? I'll move that we approve the annual operation report for local roads, streets, and bridges.
I think the second last page needs your signature on both of those documents.
We have a first and a second, is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
And outside of that, that's all I got, unless somebody wants to talk football.
Baseball.
The draft, that's all season.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I sent an email just 10 minutes ago, Steve. There's a sign on Kellerville Road, looks like somebody ran into. Did you know about that already?
No.
Because I'm like most people in the community, I drove right past the high water sign,
Uh-huh.
the one that flips up before you get to the thing. So I got there, I'm like, oh, I didn't know this road was closed, because it was open the day before. So I'm like, well, first off, great job to the highway department, thanks for getting those, leaving them open as long as we can and then closing them when it's not safe, so thank you for that. But when I stopped there, I looked at the side, we had I think it was a curve sign, looks like it was, I don't know, it was nailed or something, it was laying over in the ditch, so I took a picture of that and sent it
If
to you.
you're looking for any curve like arrow signs, there's a bunch of them out there, Route 164. You probably just go grab a few out there. and
We'll
The Chevron capital of Indiana.
I'll never know they're missing.
Yeah, that's a
I think Capital Reserve, other counties the same way.
So I wanted to tell you about that sign, and then a person that lives out in that 400 West area, Huntingburg, across from the airport. There's it goes from a chip seal to stone to dirt.
Yes.
And I'd send you a couple pictures of what that road looks like. I went out Saturday, and it's got a ditch in it, there's a divot in it like this, and that's where, so the ditches aren't getting used, the road is the ditch now.
Yeah.
And the farmer in that area, Mr. Ring, I'm sure you're familiar with him, he said, it sure would be nice to have that graded, put rock on it. I ran into him like last Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. So I'll drive out and look at the road. It's a road to nowhere because we have asphalt or chip seal to the home. Now the rest of it is farm. But I believe what happens is people, teenagers or something, drive out there and they mud and they get hung up in his field and I guess whenever he takes crops out to it, it's just difficult. It's a dirt road.
We did some rehabilitation work to 3 different dirt roads late last fall. Try to open up some of the ditches and get the road, you know, kind of built back up again and develop a ground so the water could get off. And we ended up there, but weren't able to finish because the weather got a hold of us. So, yeah, there's a lot of ditching that needs to be done. Everything needs to be pulled back into the center of the old fight. I believe one of the farmers actually did gravel. The township line is the bridge, that stream that runs east and west. When you go south of there, it's about 3/400 of a mile. They actually gravelled that to a field entrance, and then from there it's dirt.
Right.
So, yeah, that's an area that we're gonna address as soon as it dries up.
Okay.
I was just through there the other day looking at it.
So it's something that's on the, I mean, we're gonna put stone on it, or we're gonna leave it dirt?
Leave it dirt right now unless you all wanna gravel it. I mean, that would be your decision.
So the ditches need to be dug out?
Ditches need to be dug out and the road needs to be reshaped again, because like you said, right now, the road is basically a little bit lower.
Is that the only thing that needs to be done though, is just dig out, or do we need to put riprap in there to hold it, or?
No, it's just sediment.
Okay,
Yeah, so
okay,
we pull we clean the ditches out and we'll pull those shoulders back
okay.
into the roadway and then just try
I
to
didn't
build
know
it
if
up.
it's
And
gonna take more than that, I didn't know how much.
I mean, what's the cost to us to do a mile of rock and grading and the labor to put into something like that?
probably in the neighborhood, if we're just talking stone, probably in the neighborhood of $8,000 maybe on that stretch.
Do we get increased funding for rock over dirt?
And they can change it.
It's not much.
It's not that
Almost
much.
nothing.
Yes, it's not as much. If you guys wanted to, we could. It's got its benefits because it keeps kids from tearing up the roads, but it's just more to maintain. And, you know, it's costly more to maintain.
So as you put rock on one person's dirt road,
That's
everybody
exactly
else
right.
on
That's
it.
exactly right.
I guess one thing that I looked at when I was out there is I went past their house. There are ditches on the side of, I don't even know what side of the road that would be.
East.
On the east side of the road on my left. I mean, these are massive ditches. I mean, they're like 12 feet across, 8 feet deep. And it looks like they're doing some developing over there. They clear some trees. And
Yeah.
They're building some more.
They're building horse farms.
Yes.
Those horse farms, yeah. So it looks like there's new material back there that they're gonna be, the area's under somewhat of a development. I guess one thing I was thinking, because of the interest rate market, we're gonna have additional interest that's earned on these investments that we have. My question was gonna be, are you allowed to spend, you're not probably allowed to spend those dollars until the next budget year, right? Say you had a local road and street CD and it makes $20, you can't use that $20 until it's appropriated
Right.
the next time.
I guess we go to the council, that's what I think we have to wait till next year.
I don't know, I guess I don't want to treat this area any more special than anywhere else, but if we're doing that work, a percentage of that work every year someplace, I mean, it looks like it's as good of a place to do it as any.
Yeah, I would think if we're gonna do something like that, we would want to encourage right-of-way acquisition as a trade-off to the improvement of the road. Similar to what we do with our chip seal improvements. That's kind of a good trade-off. This way we do have the right-of-way in place. If 10 years down the line, maybe a subdivision develops off of that road or something.
All right, into the farmer?
No, it goes all the way through.
It ties into 900 south from 750,
Oh, okay,
west of the airport.
okay.
So if you were to take a right on 900 going west, your first road to the right is a mud road,
Yeah.
dirt road, unimproved. and then it turns into rock, then it's over it looks like a very nice, expensive bridge probably
Mhm.
out there.
Yeah.
Then it goes to asphalt.
What's the dirt road?
400 west. Yeah, it starts out as a chip and seal from 750 south as you go south then. And it turns into gravel, and then you hit the bridge. And then there's another 3,400 of a mile that is new gravel put down, I guess, by the landowner back there. And that was in it for them to get back into the field. But after you get to that field entrance, it's dirt the rest of the way to 900. So.
Yeah, I think that's a fine idea too, because right now, we may not have a whole lot of space to work our ditches anyway.
Mhm.
Is that right of way? Is that right?
Yeah. In a lot of cases, the farmers don't mind because it helps drain their fields, but, you know, everybody's different.
It gets touchy sometimes.
Yeah.
Anybody here have a thought on it? I sent you a photo of it. There's a dirt road with a big divot in it. You want to know?
I'm a fan of keeping our dirt roads dirt.
You are or not?
I am.
And I'm kind of the opposite. I would kind of wish we didn't have any if we could get by with it. And what's your reason? Just keeps people slow and keeps people from using them?
If somebody wants to develop it, we'll look at it, but I mean, if it's just a road to nowhere, I don't see the point in spending money on it.
I guess I think,
People aren't really using it. You know,
from an economic development standpoint, if there's farmers using it, I guess I count that as pretty important too. That's it. I'm not trying to say it's by that. Yeah, I mean, I could go either way with it. So.
I think I just regrade it, rework the ditches and call it a day. That's what I would do.
Sharice, what are your thoughts?
Rework it for now, rework it for now, like you say, clean out the ditches, and then go from there and see.
How long has it been since we've worked that?
How long would it take?
How long has it been?
Well, like I said, we grade them twice a year.
Okay.
And then with high rain events, a lot of those ditches will silt in, and it's a constant upgrade. And it would be the same way even if it was gravel, because there's so much flat field in there. So yeah, that silt is always going to
I
be.
mean, we had that chip seal road behind us in Waltersville, and that thing, you guys had to come get silted up.
What the road you cut through with mud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time we'd have the rain event, every spring, it would be a big lake, and then they'd come grade the road out, and the road sat lower than the fields.
Well, 230 South is a good
That's
prime
what
example.
he's talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
The bottom traffic uses that road,
Mhm.
it's a little shortcut, but
Yeah, we've got a road grader operator going there later on, hopefully this morning, or definitely before the day's out, to blade the dirt and everything off to the side of the road until we have a chance to get it loaded up and hauled off, so.
Maybe we can just rework the ditches and things like that, and then see if that might spark something as a farmer and say, hey, you've done this, let's do more. So let's just do one step at a time and see.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thought.
And if somebody wants to come put a stone on it themselves, we're not gonna complain, right? That's what happened to the other third of them.
Yes, yeah.
So we'll help keep the ditches, we'll help keep it graded. If they want to put a stone on it, it's not more work for us,
Mhm.
it's just different. So.
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. I just wanted to bring it up. I appreciate your time on that.
Okay.
Anything else for Mr. Berg? Okay, looks like we're gonna have to put Brent on hold because we have Mr. Beaver here. It's 8:25. We'll talk with him about, Schmidt Weatherford Estate.
Morning, Phil Beeler, Russell Land Surveying and Engineering, here on behalf of Schmidt Weatherford LP. This is a property on County Road 750 South, just southwest of Huntingburg. You know, this is great. So this property, Schmidt Weatherford, I believe it's approximately 25 acres. you'll see on the second and third sheet, what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to cut out about, or plat off into Schmeck Weatherford Estates, I believe is the name of the subdivision, a 2-acre subdivision. This is in the jurisdictional limits of the city of Huntingburg. You'll see on the plats that I have here, we got approval by the Huntingburg Planning Commission last Monday. County Road 750 South is a county road, so we are here, and there's a spot on the plat for the commissioners to sign to accept the right-of-way dedication for 256 feet approximately of county road right-of-way on the south side of the county road.
Mr. Wendell, any issue with this?
No, not at all.
I didn't see any issue with it. I move that we approve.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Thank you. There are 8 plots here, so I'll just leave these.
That's it. We've got 5 minutes, we can sign them now for you. Okay. Perfect. So, this pleases the board? That works for me. Okay. Blue? Do that.
So do you need a copy of this back for any
You can keep
reason?
it, no.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Pass those down. It's gonna build a welding shop on this property.
Well, in that case.
Which is, it's an approved use within the city of Huntingburg.
You didn't know I was under every, well.
I don't know, we'll see. There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Here's your other one.
Busy day today? Yes. Yeah, we're sticking a lot of it in today. Doing a lot of work. Really looking forward to some of our future things we're doing. Bring it to work hearing, that's not gonna be exciting.
Is that the word for it?
We hope we can help, put it that way.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.
Oh, about rail.
Yeah.
I think they're over there. I'm gonna check.
Thank you.
Clerk Kippenbrock, we have a security door to discuss.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Amy Kippenbrock with the clerk's office. I sent you an email last week because I knew you were very busy. We would like to request the option to get a quote and look at installing a door in the back of the clerk's office. From a security standpoint, we've had a few instances over the last year or two that we felt like we needed to shut our public access door for a security reason. So I think this would be a great option to help us feel more secure and keeping the stuff that's in the clerk's office more confidential where it belongs. So, but if we put a door there, it creates a little bit of an obstacle because we use that door, both doors, quite regularly throughout the day. I would like keyless entry to be installed on both a new possible door and the door that goes out of the other side of the clerk's office near the entrance of the courthouse. So that's what I put in my email to you. Do you have any questions or thoughts?
Let's see. Well, first off, I think it's a fine idea to replace the half door with a full door. I guess I'd recommend one with the glass so that people can see without having.
I would agree. That way we can see what's going on and then they can, if they need help, they can motion for us to help. Because those public terminals in the back room, a lot of times they need help when they're using them, so it's.
So yeah, standard door with, I don't know, maybe not half flash or similar. I mean, I'm completely fine with that. On the Prox readers, the little thing where you scan your card, I don't know that it's a bad idea, but if we put it in your office and Sandy will want it next week and somebody else.
Sandy has it, the
You got it
treasurer's
already?
office has it.
You got it from the.
You got it with this new things? Well, if that's the case, if everybody's already got it, I guess we gotta do it.
And the clerk and the treasurer is coming.
Because my first thought was, they have a key.
They do.
I've always noticed that you left the door wedged,
Usually
but
it's cracked.
I don't know that it's a overburden to use a key, but
It would, I think
It's
it
a lot
would
easier
encourage.
badging in than it is
Most
to
of
get
our
your
office-
key and get it to work.
Most of our office uses or wears their badges, but they should be wearing them.
you're right.
There shouldn't be a question of if and when it's on them. So I think it would then encourage them to continue to have it on them. Just having your badge on while you're in the building, it makes other people aware, whether you're another employee and you just don't know who people are. Like there's some community corrections people upstairs that if they're starting to come through the basement door from the bathrooms, I'm like, who are you? Why do you need me to open the door? Why do you want me to open the door? Like, I won't open the door for you if you don't have a badge. So, but I think there are other people that may not question that, like I think they should. So I think wearing your badge is important, and I think that would encourage you to do so.
And additionally, with people dressing less formally.
Yeah.
Then you can't tell the difference who works here and who doesn't.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the public would feel more comfortable if they saw a badge.
We have a jury trial going on, and there's lots of people coming in and out of the building. I mean,
Sure.
it's just more foot traffic makes it more of a benefit too. There is a fund the council has talked about. I went to their meeting last week on a whim, an LATCF. It's a fund that we have $50,000 currently and maybe getting another $50,000 that they're talking about doing improvements in the courthouse. I would like to tag this on with their projects, but I also feel like I could come up with some money out of the perpetuation fund to help pay for the door keyless entries as well. So I'm more than happy to meet in the middle and do my part, but I do think there's money available, whether it be from that fund or from the perpetuation fund with the clerk's office.
I looked it up, and I mean, the readers themselves aren't overly expensive, but I don't know how the technology works. Does anybody here know, when you scan in like a front door, it goes up in the system and we know who's been in and out?
It's special to, your badge can be programmed, the auditor's office is programmed to get in and out of the auditor's door, but I could not use my badge to get in the auditor's office.
So your door has a key as well. It has this and it has a physical key. And is yours in the system so we know who scanned in and out of
Same
your
as
own?
your outer doors.
Same as the outer doors, that's what
I
I know.
programmed it for who I said could come in that door.
Do you remember what kind of cost you're looking at for?
I asked Scott Hope the cost to install keyless entry, and he said he thought that the current program for the treasurer and the auditor's office was roughly $4,000. He thought it could be a little higher since it would not be with the rest of that other project, but it could be a standalone project. But I think that those dollars are well spent for that purpose. And again, I would be helping contribute to that expense.
All right, what's the board think?
It's fine, I mean,
I agree. I think it's a great idea.
So I would work on getting a quote and come
I
back.
guess
if
my
we
next
get to-
question to build on that, because if she's coming, I don't know who else is gonna be coming.
well, I
Let's do it
feel
all at
like
the same time.
when I walk in the courthouse and I see that your door is cracked, I always feel like that's a security concern.
I did reach out. So Scott Hope and I had a conversation. I did reach out to Jackie from the recorder's aspect because she keeps her back door shut as well and let her know that I'm exploring it. She was interested to know what a door would cost and she didn't really give me one answer or the other, if she was interested in doing it or not. She wanted to kind of understand what some costs were, so I told her I would share with her as I went through the process. It wouldn't surprise me if she comes along and says she wants something, whether it be keyless entry to her door next to the courthouse entrance, or she led me to feel like she wasn't really interested in putting a door inside for her, separating her public room to the rest of her office, that she's comfortable leaving her door shut in the back. And then if researchers come, they can come to the window and say, I need to get in. So I think hers could be a little different, but I know that I've involved her in the conversation so far of what I've wanted and what I was coming to talk to you about,
I'm just saying it might be cheaper
to do it at one
to
time.
do everything at once versus have them come out for each individual.
That makes sense.
And I don't know that.
Do you know how many there would be then, maybe besides Jackie's?
I know the second floor, there's
I
several
imagine the
requests.
courts are gonna want something.
Yeah, there's several
Okay.
requests for the second floor that the council was fully aware of when I was there last week, that they're kind of
And the
working on
double
some
doors are.
things.
But that would take some kind of badging or some, because they're not there to buzz them in.
Gotcha.
I shared with the council last week, it came up about the security on the second floor and how judge wants that door to be locked. We do send people from the clerk's office to the court office to do their business. Pro se litigants need to have access to the court office. So I'm not saying that door shouldn't be locked, but if we lock that door, there has to be a continued solution to have some communication with those pro se litigants from the court office. Whether it be an intercom or a buzzing in or how that works, I don't know what that answer is, but I would ask you to not just lock that door without another step farther of what that solution should look like.
So currently, you send them up the stairs next to your office?
We tell them to go up the public access. We do not send them up the staff only back door. They can go down the hall, use the elevator or the steps, go to the second floor, go all the way down the hall, go through the double doors that say stop, and take care of your court business with the office.
Okay, well, I agree that's probably the best idea if we're gonna do other ones, that we would do them at the same time, but the request for today is for the clerk's office. I'll move that we give approval for the clerk to get a quote to install a full door in the back of their office. Explore the possibility of getting Prox readers on 2 locations, the south door and the new north door.
Perfect, thank you.
Second your motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And you were also wanted to discuss carpet, and that's the only other thing, right?
It's not a major priority, but after listening to some of the other requests for the second floor, I definitely think our carpet was installed at the same time and has seen its better day. If we're gonna put new carpet in the building, I would like the clerk's office to be added to that list. You can see where we walk every day on our carpet. It's not the end of the world if we don't get it, but it definitely, if it's gonna be addressed in the rest of the building, ours needs to be addressed.
When we pulled ours up, it looked nice until you pulled it up and you realized it was time.
Because it's 25 years of dirt in it.
No,
I mean, it's
It's
worn.
It's
We have a path in our office.
Oh, I
It's
thought it
worn.
was from the 96.
No, we had a mauve carpet when we moved back, and that's been replaced with what we had, and now this is another,
So what are you saying? What did you find underneath the carpet?
just dirt and
Well, where the carpet has
wear and
deteriorated,
tear, and it
Yeah.
just takes its toll.
so. If that's what we're gonna add to the list upstairs, then I would like to be added to the list.
I don't have an issue with replacing the carpet if the council has the funds that they're wanting to appropriate to the thing.
That's fine.
If not, I mean, it's functional.
We
It's not
can,
safe.
we can live without new carpet, but we want a door.
Right, anything else today?
I am exploring, I'll be back another day, but I am exploring, agreements with a new collection agency. So I'll probably, once I get some of those details lined out, I'll send that to you. I've been working with Mr. Schneider on that. So hopefully we'll get to a better place and have a new collection agency to work with to maybe help us collect late fines a little better.
Who are you with now?
Eagle Collections. We've been with them for 10, 12 years. They're doing okay at best. We started a pre-collection letter about 1.5 years ago, and we've had about an 80% success rate with our pre-collection letter. So we've now grabbed all the low-hanging fruit, and our results from our collection agency has went down dramatically. There's a new newer to Indiana. They're not a new company, but they're newer to Indiana that I found at conference that I think we could get better results with. So cost the same, it's better process. We have better insight to their process. And I think that we would work better with them.
So they operate under the same as the other ones where you get made whole and they add a.
They take out their fee as we go. It's a 30% fee when we send a collection agency, same as we work with today, but today we get all of our money first and then they continue to work to get their 30%. And this new agency is 30%, but they get 30% of every payment that's made. So they get paid as they go. And I think that that's fair. I mean, how can you expect somebody to be in business with us and work on collecting an account for 10 years and they never get paid a dime? I think that should be standard practice, that they get paid for their efforts. And if we're getting results because of their efforts, then I think that we'll get more money back with this other company.
Okay.
That's all I had for you today, but I do see that maybe legal kiosk was added right next to where I'm talking. Was that about me?
That's not about you. What it was is Judge Burkamp had asked for one to be on the second floor.
Oh, okay.
So I explained to him how we had talked with you about it. It didn't seem like it was a good fit for the first floor. We found a location for it at the library. And he's been in touch with them again, and he'd like to have one on the second floor. So that's where we're at today with that. So I guess, or is the board up to date on what he's asking for and what he wants? So I guess, I don't know if we need to beat it up too much. I'd say my recommendation would be that we accept putting it on the second floor right before the, sort of where it's still tile, I guess it's not tile, where the hard surface before it goes in the carpet, where I took the picture, and it's right to the left before you go into the courtroom area.
Right off the elevator by the Superior Court.
Yes, right by the Superior
Court jury room door.
I would be curious who is supporting that kiosk. I think it's a great feature. I think it's something we probably need, but one of my biggest hangups was assisting people when they need help, and then who's going to pay attention to it when it has a paper jam and needs to refill the paper. And those seem like minor things, but we help a lot of litigants come in that are pro se and retain paperwork, and the help that they are asking for is not something that we give them because it's legal advice. So I would just be curious as to who's going to man that if there are questions.
And that was my response to the judge too, when he said that. I said the only reason it was an issue before is people, when they're doing anything legal, they're gonna have a question. I don't think I've received a response from him on that, but.
And maybe being in that location, the people wouldn't think to go ask the court office, and maybe they wouldn't feel like they needed to go ask them for some help. If it was in the clerk's office, they would come and ask. It's just a little different environment, so maybe it's null and void, but.
I think what I mentioned to Sandy was that I can imagine a person using it and they're gonna have a question, and the first office they're gonna run into is the recorder's office, and they'll say,
Closest one.
and the recorder will say, then they'll go over to auditor, and somebody may have to deal with it, especially if there's a sign on that floor that says, stop, don't come back here. So I do think that may be an issue, but if it becomes a big burden, I guess we remove the machine.
So who wants to install it? The courts? The
State of Indiana has.
It's a public, I don't know if it's a public defender's state office has requested, they want one in every courthouse. They've been working.
So if there is issues with it, we call 1-800.
No, once it's installed, it's ours.
It's our responsibility to
They
service.
provide it.
They provide the initial stuff. I believe there's a budget for more or less the first 12 months of its use for paper and things of that nature. But then after that,
Becomes the county.
correct. Unless there's a replacement fund that comes into place.
So it actually legally becomes our piece of machinery, it's not their piece.
They're paying for it, and they're paying for it to get set up, and then it's ours after
It's
that.
our asset.
So if we want to trash it after a year, we can, or after a
I don't
month.
know what the contract says, if it has to be available.
I don't
for so
remember
long.
that detail.
Not saying we want to trash it, but
Right.
if it.
Well, and the intent is to have it, so pro se litigants have the access to the website that we refer them to. They did install one down at the library.
It is the Indiana Bar Foundation is the provider of the equipment.
I do think that it's a great thing. I support it. I just would like to make sure we pay attention to some of the details. County attorney tells us not to give out legal advice.
That's a good piece of advice. All right, so I would move that we approve the, Judge Burkham to sign the agreement to have the legal kiosk, installed on the second floor.
Second.
And any other discussion? And as we mentioned here today, hopefully it doesn't have any unintended consequences, but if it does, I guess we will, deal with those at that time. So, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Mr.
Amy.
Mr. Werner? Morning.
All right, I'm here today to talk about the crisis co-op grant. So just to bring everybody up to speed, because I don't think Streets certainly started this. So back in December of 2021, we received a grant from the state that's what I'm gonna call it, to hire a full-time COVID clerk. So this is a multi-purpose position for us. They also, part of that one is at the school liaison. So this position right now is the clerk for our drive-through clinic. So when you come in for COVID or flu shot to the drive-through clinic, this person checks them in to our EHR, does all the paperwork to get them ready. That's their kind of the main focus. They're a health department, and then the school liaison position gives them the ability to go help schools with whatever need they may have, whether it be vision, hearing screenings, immunization programs when we go out to the school to give vaccines. We've done substitute nurses for the schools. We've done filing paperwork, anything that the nurses may need. And then, this position or the individual we currently have now is also bilingual. So we've kind of given Marky one of the days back for Stephanie, because at the current moment, we don't need the translator anymore, because we happen to luck into Joanne Buck. She's also fully bilingual. So she's kind of given Marky back a day for Stephanie to help with whatever needs we have. So the reason I'm here today is I don't know for sure if I can need this, but I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed. So the grant funds, the actual grant, as far as our deliverables, we have to, provide deliverables in order to get this money. It ends June 30th of this year, but the funding that we receive will remain in the account. We can use it as needed for 5, 10, 15 years, whatever we need. So I want to continue to fund this position out of these grant funds, but I don't know, do I need to get an extension on the position, because I believe it was determined that time to give this position until the grant ended. The grant technically ends June 30th, but the funds will remain useful for us to keep this position going.
And never change. So I just want to, don't know that I'm following fully. Are the duties of the position changing?
The duties won't change. They're talking about giving another round of funding, but we haven't received that, so then it would extend this grant for another year. But I would keep the position the same duties, but just continue to pay for it out of this grant funds that we have available. So they're not reverting funds, they stay with us.
I think that clears it up. So if we did,
And currently we have $592,739.41 in the account, minus the expenses in February. And then we have another $220,000 coming once we finish the final deliverables for this year.
so the question is, did we say that the position ends when the grant ends? And if we did, I think we'll just we'll make a motion today to say that I will move that we allow the position to continue until such time as funds are no longer available for the grant.
So yeah, that's my goal, is to keep the position until these grant funds end, or, the Governor's Public Health Commission actually wants a school liaison in every health department. Since we already have that, it's possible we can transition it into the Governor's Public Health Commission funds. It just all depends on, where we're at in time. But I would have a hard time managing the drive-through and helping the schools if I didn't keep this position going.
Okay, I had a motion to keep the position. Okay, first and second, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries.
And then, do I need to go to the council, or since that line item's already set up, am I good?
Already done.
Surplus items?
Yeah, so today all I have is these two laptops. I think, do you get these to take the Matrix?
No, I get Cleveland, I just draw, I
So the one, the hard drive,
don't have power cords or anything.
blew up. I could probably find if you need them.
Sometimes I don't have ones that fit.
Okay.
Then we'll-
The one, the hard drive is completely shot. Matrix already looked at it, said it's not fixable or it's not feasible to fix it. And the other one is, I think, pretty well on its last leg. It takes 10 minutes to load up Microsoft Word, so I think the hard drive's going on that too. So they just need to be cleaned.
Well, I gotta do it, or erase
and
them
white.
and I'll bring it back.
They just need to be erased. If you need power cords, let me know. I'll try to find them.
And you need to keep them, take them off of your inventory, I
Yes.
suppose, and work through that process.
I just have the
When you
numbers.
guys declare them, then I give it to Lynn and she works with it.
Anybody have any issue declaring these items surplus? I'll move that we declare the two computers that were handed to us as surplus items to be destroyed.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And the only other thing I have is a oxygen tank. It's about this tall. It's been in our closet for 30 years and we were trying to clean the house. I don't know what to do with it. I don't even know if the valves are usable anymore. We just want to get rid of it, but I don't know really where to take it.
It's steel.
It's metal, I know that, but I don't know. We release the oxygen into the environment, so it wouldn't possibly start a fire or blow up, but it's just an empty tank with valves right now. I guess I
Do
could
you
take.
have other tanks that you maintain for any purposes?
No, this was way back when, I think when we had a home health patient that needed oxygen, and for whatever reason, they have this tank. Now, it's of no value. I don't even know if you can even use it. I don't know if I can take it to even fill it up anymore, because the house is probably so old. So I guess I can just take it for
Metal, you can take
scrap
it to
metal.
salvage.
They're gonna, yes. I was gonna say take it to solid waste, they'll find a way to
Always too.
properly dispose of it, but yeah, either way, I will move that we declare the oxygen tank as a surplus item to be properly disposed of.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So yeah, you can check with salvage or solid waste, and I'm sure they can recycle
Probably
it.
just go to solid waste and then.
Oh, Carla.
That's easy. That's easy.
You can go to the waste wizard and see if they take oxygen tanks.
I would just go Carla
Probably
and
worth
see.
like a penny in scrap metal. I just want to get rid of it.
So now that we're halfway through the session, the bill, the governor's health bill is still alive. It's been reduced a little bit, 20% or so, but it's still seeing positive movement.
Yeah, I think, from what I think is right now, they reduced it to the first year 75 million and then the second year 150 million. It was around 100 million, 200 million. So we'll just have to see where it goes. But it made it through the House. Is it the Senate now, or is it maybe back to the House? I'm not for sure, but it's still moving. Hopefully when we know what the final allotment is for DuBois County, we'll get back to get your guys' permission to opt in.
So, sounds fair. From everything I've read, it sounds like a decent deal so far.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's good.
I can call your girlfriend. Tell her you have your stuff. That's about the lady.
Oh, really?
She calls. Do you have anything for me this week? Get it? We'll call her if we have something.
We don't represent it. To begin with, because I'm not gonna waste time to put together if they're not gonna pay us for it.
Like I said, she sends letters and then she calls.
Yeah, you just find with me, tell them where I get business with them.
It's my girlfriend.
But they haven't contacted me. I think maybe George.
If we get a chance, when?
I'll see you know for sure when.
Well, I gave it to them last time, they just haven't approved it.
Okay.
Why?
I just hope to see it.
You wanna see the calendar?
Did you bring your computer today?
Nope. I know Sean's showing me up, handing over his old computer. Shoot, I didn't bring that, I just
Yeah,
have a
those
serial
things.
number.
They're dangerous.
Yeah, he didn't give us serial numbers, but they're pretty equal.
They're on there.
They're on your request?
They're on the computer. The serial
I'm
number.
not saying.
Here.
I will need yours,
We
Will.
took pictures of them, they won't remove them from our inventory, but the computer's got the serial numbers on
We've already approved. You don't sell it.
them. You're telling me I didn't give them to you, they're right there.
I was trying to make Kelsey feel better. All right.
That's good. So we've got a whole piece of- Okay, got
And we have,
it.
payroll from the last period. Anybody have any comments or concerns?
Yes, sir.
I'll move that we approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We have the minutes from the February, what was that, 21st meeting? I move that we approve as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we have the claims against the county. I had some questions, but the auditor's office answered them for me, and I'm satisfied to approve as they are. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Anybody have any questions or concerns? No? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, let's do the 9 o'clock agenda item, Purdue Extension.
Hi,
Morning.
Good morning. Teresa, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Chelsea Brewer. I'm the County Extension Director as well as the Health and Human Sciences Educator for Purdue Extension. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you at the department head meeting, so happy to meet you now. I have 3 agenda items. I did email them to you, so hopefully you have a chance to look over those. We'll start with like shortest discussion, the longest discussion. That was my theory behind this. The first discussion item that I have is we have a surplus laptop. It's no longer able to be updated and we cannot use it anymore. So we are requesting that to be moved to surplus, please.
Sandy, in every case, when they bring it to you,
Normally, we get it brought to us unless they destroy it themselves.
Okay.
But
do we not have to have it certified? Or that's-
no, we just make sure it's got the military erases everything and then we just destroy it.
Okay.
So best practice is bring it to you if you know how to do that.
We have the software to do it.
I'll move that we approve the declaration of this laptop as surplus to be disposed of.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, appreciate that. Our second agenda item is that we would like to try to do something a little bit different with our summer assistant. Traditionally, we've had a either senior, graduating high school senior, or a freshman, sophomore in college come and help us over the summer with preparing for the 4-H fair. But we've started to do a lot more programming at the fair, and we're finding ourselves, especially during that week, shorthanded. So we would like to shorten the length of time that we get this person so that we can have 2 people overlapping during the fair. It divided out to 5 weeks. So if we start them beginning of June, and they would go through our middle of June through fair, and then the other person beginning of July through August, that would cover our needs as far as our summer assistant and allow us to have multiple sets of hands helping with activities during the fair. specifically our request for volunteers has happened since I've started doing the Book to Barn field trips. So I invite in any summer school kids at the Kids Place, Kids City, or the actual school programs to come, and we read a book and do some activities, and I take them around the fairgrounds and just show them around a little bit. So as you can imagine, that's like 100 kids, and it's really hard for me to do that by myself. So I'm grabbing people wherever I can. The Queen's Court has always helped me, but it's really nice to have another set of hands that is familiar with all the background that goes into it and what's going on. So that's kind of where this need has currently come up. After 2 years of doing it, I need a little help. So this was our idea of how to get that help, but we are open to other ideas if you have them.
So my thought was, it sounds like a reasonable ask.
Okay.
I just was, can Sandy read it from a procedural standpoint of what we would have to do position-wise, if we'd have to, it's one fund, but one position, I don't know if we could create a second person.
I
First off, does
did
anybody
talk
here
to
have a comment on
Marky, and he said it would be possible to do this, but, he didn't want to.
As long as you don't overspend that line item, I don't think that would be an issue.
If we create a position, a second assistant position, you're gonna be paying 2 people out of it. That's kind of the question the only question I had. Is anybody, are they opposed to the ask? No.
I'm not opposed, but I did want to let you know I am on the 4-H board.
Okay.
If there's anything that you need,
Thank you.
I'm signed up as a volunteer and a judge.
Okay.
Just to let you know that I'm available, just call me.
I wouldn't know. And you just made a motion, but could have two into one line item or something, I don't.
Don't we have our truck drivers and highway all in one line item?
Yeah.
So
But we say there's so many truck drivers.
Okay.
We're talking about how to split the summer assistant into 2 people.
Okay.
Mark, I think we're favorable to the request. We just want to make sure that we need to formally create a second position and then say that as long as they don't go over the workable hours or the wages, do you think it's necessary? Create a second assistant position as long as they don't.
We were,
They're temporary anyway.
how, these, they weren't gonna work the same days, is it right?
They were gonna overlap during fair
That's right.
for like those 2 weeks,
Yeah, and that would be it.
and that would be it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there was no overlap, it'd be one single person and one single position.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah.
But maybe just for formality's sake, so that
Yeah.
I'll move that we approve no more than 2 individuals to split this position with some overlapping being allowed. As long as the amount of money dedicated to the position is not overspent, stay within budget. That'd be my motion. Just so we get it in the paper. Oh, sorry. Was that too complicated? We're allowing it. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
So that's in the book here. Okay, we got a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I probably made that twice as complicated as it needs to be, but I just don't want there to be any problems in the future.
It was a hard explanation to write too. I was like, I need to draw exactly how this is gonna go out, so I'm glad it made sense.
As long as you think you can find people that will do it.
I have had a few email requests asking if the position was gonna be available, and I just told them, put a pin in it, I'll be back in touch with you in just a little bit, so I think that will be able to.
And this is the summer ending.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Sheriff, do keep your ears perked up on this next part. I just wanted to, I'll probably ask you if we have any options regarding the contract and the landlord.
Yes, so it's been a year since we've had this discussion, so I thought I'd come back around and just let you know that the formal lease did nothing for our situation. There was no attempt at improvement other than we do have an exterminator that comes around and sprays occasionally. We had 3 requests in there for building improvement. The first was the cleaning of the walls. The second was replacement of broken ceiling tiles. Neither of those happened. And I'm blanking on the third one. I apologize. I can't remember what the third one was. But it didn't happen either. I can guarantee that. did not happen. He does not show any signs that he wants to improve it. We brought to his attention that we noticed there are no smoke detectors because there's a weird beeping that's happening and we can't figure out where it's coming from. So I thought it was a smoke detector. There are no smoke detectors. He wasn't concerned about this. We are very concerned about this. I just, at this point, I feel like we're getting taken advantage of. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Don't want to dwell on that too much, but I did also look into some other options for us. The first option was a new building out at the fairgrounds, so on county held land. Nobody wanted to give me an official quote, an official estimate without a design prepared. So I was just looking for a roundabout number for a 5,000 square foot Morton building that was finished. And they all, I called 3 different companies, they all said, give us a design and then we'll give you a number. They were just concerned with the variability in prices. They didn't really feel like they could give us an educated estimate.
Sure.
So I felt like that was a fair answer, and they were all very regretful that they had to give me that answer. So I didn't feel like it was out of spite that they were giving me that. They just couldn't provide me with information. So I
And I want to
also,
apologize with how I responded to you, because I think you gave me this information, then I asked, why aren't you considering this?
it's okay.
Or I think that's how I did it, I don't know.
Okay.
So I apologize
Yeah.
for that if I didn't do that, but no, I appreciate you looking into that, and I definitely understand. I deal with builders, and they're not gonna say, oh, it'll be
Yeah.
$100,000.
I know. That is, I wanted just sort of a guesstimate even. It's like, I started every conversation with, I'm not gonna hold you to this, but could you give me a very rough estimate? And nobody wanted to do that. The other thing that I did kind of at the same time was I was speaking with Dr. Derek Young about the old Seven Seas building. So it's about the same square footage. It's 48,014 square feet for that, or 4,814. I had an extra zero there. 4,814 square feet. It would allow us to have our office space as well as a larger classroom than what we can currently find in the county. Currently, maximum capacity for the county is 25 people that we can find as a rentable space. This would allow us to have a classroom for 50 people. It also has an outside entrance. It's the entrance actually facing 3rd Avenue. So it would be a rentable space to anybody in the county if we choose to go that way. They would have outside access and wouldn't have access to our office. So it could become an asset for the community as well in that way. His requested amount for rent is $5,000, but he says that is very negotiable, dependent upon the term of the lease. And all of that. Like, he wants somebody in there, so he's willing to negotiate. My request is actually not to approve this building, but to approve perhaps a subcommittee to help me with the discussions with Dr. Young and see what path might be right to move forward, because there are so many options and so many things up in the air.
Anybody have any feedback?
No, I can feel your pain with searching for the right place.
Yeah.
I just thought of this, but Jared Pop owns the property where Win Electric is, I believe, like that area there.
County garage?
Oh, back,
Right across
yeah.
from the county garage.
Okay.
Supply.
I think that the old Restore building, I'm not sure, so I have to call him, but I think that might be for lease.
Okay.
If that might be an option for you guys.
Everything is an option.
Just up the road from where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, close to the fairgrounds.
Mhm.
Maybe it's worth giving him a call, just asking.
Jared Pop, you said?
But I think forming a committee to kind of weigh your options is a good idea.
Okay.
I'm not real big on the idea of building out at the fairgrounds. I just tend to think that it's kind of out of the way for most people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a farmer, for example, and you're coming into town for something, I'm assuming you're gonna stack a few items, get them all knocked out and go back home, so you don't have to do it 2 or 3 times in the day. And you can do that if you're coming into town, but you couldn't do that if you're going out to the fairgrounds. It'd just be a little bit out of the way for most people, I believe. So, just a thought.
Yeah. Personally, we would love to use a building that is already standing and sort of recycle, you know? Just be good stewards of the land and try and see if we can fit somewhere that's already established.
Yeah, I'll say that I wouldn't support paying $5,000 a month or somewhere in that range of where we are. But the financial part of it wouldn't be our say necessarily, but I wouldn't support that. It's tough to go from 18,000 a year to 60.
Mhm.
Same issue we had down here, the council balked on the central building. So I don't know that is I don't want to say it's an unreasonable request, but I would say it's a unlikely to be approved request. But I don't mind the idea of having a committee at least look at all the options, come up with some options that are feasible. I don't know
I think.
I prefer we owned our own damn building for $5,000.
Right, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if she's gonna lease 5,000 square feet, that's the ballpark it's gonna cost. It's gonna be about $1 a square foot. It's just what it is. You know, you can't go from 1,500 square feet to 5,000 square feet and expect to pay the same.
That's true. What is this, so 1,500 for right now? Or where are we at now? Or where?
I think it was storage and all, it was close to like 23,
23.
yeah.
Okay,
But that's,
but you're in a,
and it's all back a hallway and it's,
I've seen your offices.
yeah.
Not impressive.
Yeah,
You do well with what you have.
thank you.
I guess I'm in favor of a couple things that we've seen like we've not dealt with too much over the last several years would be the solid waste building and their facility issues and then for these folks, and I guess even with the highway department, those are 3 facilities that could use some work over time or some additions or some improvements. So I definitely think having a committee to look at this is a fine way to start. We could probably ask someone from the extension office, someone from the council, someone from the commissioners to be on it. Were you thinking anyone else would be good to have on that?
If we wanted to invite somebody from the extension board, I think I could find some people that would be interested in there as well.
Does that sound like a reasonable request to this board? Is there anyone on this board that would like to participate in on that committee?
I wouldn't mind participating. Unless somebody else has a strong desire to do it.
Three?
Oh, I'm good.
That's fine by me, and I suppose maybe you can just talk to someone on the council, see if they're excited or interested in doing it, or you could, Chelsea.
Okay.
I think that'd be the next best thing. Maybe, I think, for me, I'd feel better if a group of people have thoroughly looked at it, and we feel like there's people looking out for the county's interests, taxpayers' interests, and your interests as an organization. And then we can maybe make something happen.
Yeah.
And if we have a council person and a commissioner, then we can at least make sure that we're looking at the financial aspect too, because we can dream big and not afford it.
I feel like that's where I'm at. I'm like, I don't know, I can't make any decisions because I don't know the county standards.
Sure.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Swell and Water looking for more space as well?
They've not mentioned anything to us, but I don't know.
It might be worth asking.
Okay.
Because maybe a few of you kind of opens the options a little bit, they look a little different.
All right, so we'll have a subcommittee. Mr. Hosketter will be on that.
Thank you.
Ms. Brewer will
I'll
work on
reach
that.
out with email.
With regards to the condition of the current facility and the terms of the lease, if you could please send me a copy of that executed lease. I know I looked at it probably a year ago.
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
And we can go from there and determine maybe even that committee, if you want to send some sort of a letter off to the landlord and approach it that way first, while again, you're exploring your options, and we can explore too if there's an out of any kind in there, but I'll look at it, please.
And that was gonna be my question. If he contractually says, I'll take the trash out 3 times a week and he takes it out once or none, or if he says, I've cleaned the walls haven't been cleaned, I would guess our option is we can get out of the lease.
There's probably a default provision at that point, yes.
Then we're, then,
But
Yeah.
that's the issue, again, you don't wanna be homeless.
yes.
So-
Yes, it's an annual.
Are there other
lease.
things? I mean, for example,
I don't know that, I mean, you could request that I'm gonna prorate my rent I'm paying you.
is that legal? Like,
I believe there, yeah,
Could we have a cleaning company come in, clean the walls and then charge him?
that might be in there too, that if a landlord fails to do something, or we could at least let them know that these are things we're going to do and we're gonna bill back to you, or, you know, but. Okay. I don't have high hopes. It doesn't sound like an optimistic scenario.
generally, would it be the case where if you don't like if somebody's not making the contract,
You would
it would
have,
be more expensive to litigate the contract than to
that is
just
correct,
get out of it?
that is correct.
Force someone to do something they don't want to do is difficult. If they don't honor it, so
Right.
if they don't honor it.
Right, so before we would send off some type of a letter like that, I feel like maybe, and I'm not saying suck it up, but,
Right,
you know, have the committee meet and determine what your other options are before we were to make such a step forward.
it is an annual lease too, so it's not like we're locked in for an extended
Okay.
period of time.
Chelsea, the one that you sent isn't the executed version, but is it the same version that was executed? The one
Yes,
you sent
yeah,
the other
I
day?
just
I'll
didn't
just
have the
forward it.
signed one saved.
I'll forward it.
Okay, thank you.
So. Okay, any other business today?
No, those are the three things I'm going to discuss.
Sounds great, thank you.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
good day.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. You too.
Excuse me, Mr. Wilson.
Good morning. So I'll go hopefully quickly through two of my items. The surplus items I shared with Sandy. I don't know that she shared the list with the commissioners or.
Here we are, folks, we've got looks like 4 monitors,
Yes,
2 Globe brand office chairs, blue cloth model 980, manufactured 1995 casters. Well, these look like some perfect chairs for downstairs.
No.
they're not worthy of even sitting in. I thought about stealing chairs.
Have you seen the ones downstairs?
They're about to be
It's some that I've got, but it's all junk. It needs to go. It needs to be thrown away. The monitors I would recycle through solid waste.
So you have monitors and computers? I mean, it's,
No,
But
these
just monitors.
are just monitors.
okay. There they are, folks, there. I'll move that we approve, these items as surplus to be disposed of solid waste or another appropriate entity.
Second.
You had a chance to look at it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The second item is choice for shift supervisor. We had a resignation 3 weeks ago and created an open position for the role of shift supervisor, which would effectively be our third in charge. We did have one applicant from our existing staff, Emily Lewis. She has been with us since December of 2018, and she came to us with, I think, 7 years experience at Crawford County 911. She's been a trainer for us for about 2.5 years and definitely is very qualified for the position. And because she was the only applicant, I don't want that to downplay the confidence that I have her for this role. It's definitely someone that I would love to have in a leadership role within our 911 center and kind of the future of our center, building the future of our center. So she has completed written testing. She scored 98% on our written test. I will put it to our 911 advisory board for their blessing as well, as it is a significant staffing change. And we're going to meet on March 20th, tentatively. The advisory board doesn't know that yet, except for a couple of members that I've spoken to individually to make sure that they were available. But I would ask for your approval for her in that role pending the advisory board's decision on moving her into that role. It is a singular position within our department, and I feel like there should be others deciding that other than just me. But if you have any questions about Ms. Lewis, I would gladly answer them.
No,
She is
I-
incredibly
I-
qualified.
Yeah, everyone in favor of that? Okay, that's fine, we'll just go that way. Okay, that's good.
And then I want to update the commissioners on the console furniture project. We are a little bit behind from where we wanted to be on that entire thing. There was the bid that was approved, and we have not made our final selection. The furniture committee, the company shipped us some color swatches and some finished samples, and they're a West Coast company, so of course that came really slow. And just late last week, we were able to, members of the committee were able to make their decisions. I just need to get back with our sales person and tell them what we've decided on for the finishes to kind of execute that approval. We're behind. It should have already happened last week, Monday. We're behind on the timeline that we set for ourselves. We're not behind on anything that's going to negatively impact the project. But I felt like we did have an executed successful bid process, but we're just behind.
As long as it's not holding up where we're gonna end up.
No, it will not. We're going to be months ahead. Their timelines for manufacturing are well in advance of any timeline that we will have on getting into the new workspace, which is yet to be determined, that timeline.
And there's nothing with this furniture that has to be in construction. Yeah. We can not put you in there till next year.
I would prefer to wait until the general contractor can give us a timeline before we finish the order. But I'll have to look at the contract and see what the deadlines that were set. I think probably we can have a timeline from the general contractor before we would place this order, because when we place the order, they're gonna wanna know our delivery date, and I can't tell them the delivery date yet.
You want expectations to be the same on both sides, so that you don't have to hold furniture and
Right.
then have to hold.
Yeah, I want us to store as little as possible. I would love to take delivery immediately when the building's done.
Move it right in the room.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any issues with that. I appreciate the update.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Wilson?
I will have, as far as other portions of that project, I'll have some other stuff coming at a later commissioners meeting. Well, we're gonna start on those with the advisory board on the 30th. There's 3 other quotes that I've obtained for various pieces of equipment and purchases that need to be made. And they just went out to the advisory board, or they'll go out to the advisory board this morning. We're rolling on slowly.
We're gonna have a great facility.
I hope so. I think so.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I got.
All right, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have some other miscellaneous items that we need to get through here. We have the 2024 calendar payroll dates. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns on those? I
I know what you're gonna say.
Here we go now.
It's already filled.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the courthouse closings as presented
And,
and payroll schedule.
all right. I'm not gonna say it this year, heck you people. All right, we have a first. I'll second the motion. Any other discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, we have Irish Trot 5K. They would like to use one of the roads as a highway. We'll look at that. And is this the application?
Yes.
They are requesting on March the 18th from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. The attached pass, which is the same pass as the one they've used previously. Cars will be allowed through when directed. But I've run this before. There's one car in a half hour that they left through because somebody didn't plan ahead. But I think it's a fine thing, and I'll move that we approve this.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, that's good. And the planning commission appointment, Mr. Hofstadter, you had someone you discussed this with?
Kim Hagan has agreed that if she is appointed, she would agree to serve.
Okay, And you sent us some information on Kim Hagan, and she looks like a great person in the community that would serve as well. I'd be okay with that. Cerise, any? Good?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Great.
I'll move that we approve Kim Hagan for the Jasper Planning Commission appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Does the auditor have any other business?
I have a few surplus items, sorry.
Okay.
The recorder's office has a calculator. Veteran Service Officer has a desk. Ambulance Department has 4 Best Home Furnishing recliners, 2 at the Huntingburg Ambulance Station, 2 at the Furman Ambulance Station, and 4 Savannah twin set mattresses at the Huntingburg Ambulance Station.
All right, it's all county property. Anybody have any thoughts on these items?
Do I need a recliner for the office?
You wouldn't want to.
You would.
I use that.
Okay, all right,
I love a recliner, but you wouldn't want to.
okay.
After this many years of 24/7 use, I mean, calculator's busted, the stuff at the station is no good, and what was the other ones, chairs? The other place?
The Veteran Service desk, yes.
The desk at the Veteran Service Office is fine, it's just, it's pretty large, and it wasn't something she wanted, so she got a different desk. So I guess we'll have to find a way to dispose of the
It's
desk.
not really a desk, as you say, it's one of the modulars that has doesn't have any drawers underneath it on them.
Or L shapes.
Yeah, it's,
Which is, it's just pretty huge, so.
Any takers?
nobody took it.
It's not.
We sent pictures around there, but I mean,
No takers? Okay.
Yeah, and I think too, in the future, if we had additional space somewhere in the county, instead of us declaring some of these items surplus, we hold on to them and auction them once a year like the municipalities do, but we don't have the space and a little bit of value that you get $5 for some desk that you paid $1,500 for. Probably may not be worth it anyway. I'm good with declaring all these items surplus. Any other discussion? Yes, I'll move that we approve declaring these surplus to be disposed of.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Schneider, do you have something?
We did have a meeting, Sandy and I met with Department of Local Government and Finance, Friday actually, so, we'll probably take a little more time than 2 minutes. So if we want to move on to the next thing, if time permits at the end, otherwise we can do it at our next meeting. I don't think it's a time sensitive matter.
In general though, it's about the
How the
public
tax,
safety tax.
yeah, how creating or a new lit tax, the process that is involved in that.
The ball is still moving, we're doing what we can at this point.
That's, yes.
Okay. Anybody need a break? No. Okay, we've got Gallagher True Scripts, Mark Track is here to discuss our plan.
Plan to review. I'm actually gonna let Shelley go first from True Scripts, because she has another meeting, so, let her go, and then I'll.
thank you.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Rose, are we doing RFP for pharmacy?
No, just for broker consultant.
Thank you.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Shelley Foos, and I'm an account executive from TrueScript, so thanks for your time this morning. We're going to review today DuBois County employees' RX data for 2022. So if you flip to your first page, we're going to go over the trend analysis. In the top left-hand corner, your per member per month claim page, and this is by RX year. You're going to notice in the bar chart that your PMPM did increase by $16.81 for 2022. We will discuss what contributed to that increase, plus a new cost containment program for brand name drug spend. On the bottom left-hand corner, per member per month impact by drug mix is accounted for a percentage of 33.4%. So here you'll see the drugs that were taken in 2021, not in 2022, the percentage, and then new drugs in 2022, and then the total. Next, in utilization for claim count on medications, brand had an increase of over 12%. Generic medications had a slight increase of a little less than 1%. Specialty medications, about 1.2% increase. And that was on claim count. On per member per month on the plan paid, the increase on brand medication was almost 20%. Generic medications is 7.2%. And then specialty medications, here's your increase of 29.8%. So that's the majority of your increase there. Any questions on that page?
Yep.
Okay. Next on our trend summary, we're going to start on the left-hand corner and we're going to talk about all the claims that processed, of course, as a generic, brand, and specialty. So your average member count actually decreased by 12 members. So in 21, it was 591 members. In 2022, 579. Average employee count only increased by 2 members. And then your per member per month plan paid is $91.71 again, an increase over 21 of $16.81. The per member per month total paid was $103.97. And just to go to your right, we're going to would like to show what it looks like excluding specialty claims because that accounts for much. Without specialty medications, your per member per month plan paid is actually $44.05. So you're going to see there that special medications account for almost more than half. Back to the left-hand side on per member per month, TrueScripts net program savings. I'm happy to say that TrueScripts was able to divert $53.07 per member per month away from the plan paid on our specialty care program. The next section.
Where are you at there?
On the left-hand side, it says per member per month, TrueScripts net program savings on the per member per month. Do you see that now?
Yes.
Okay, great. The next section is just reports per employee per month. And then next we show the per member per year cost. So we're just giving you 3 different equivalents and how to reference that drug spend.
This is saying that the average employee
Yes, that is
gets
correct.
9 prescriptions per year.
Where do you see?
What is it, per member per year?
That's
claim
per
count?
year, yes. Yeah, that's just averaging it per year.
So that if I have a family of 4, that means 9 for my family of 4. Or
Yes, that's per
it
member, yes.
doesn't go per member, it goes per employee.
That one, the bottom there on the 9 is
What does
member,
it
the one above it is employee.
Okay, I've got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Going next to the next page on page 4, the cost and utilization summary. In 2022, the claim count increased by 41, so there was 5,217 claims. Normalized claim count, that is actually 30-day equivalents. So that was 30-day claims, 172 increased in 2022, so we had a total of 8,805 claims that processed in 2022 for DuBois County employees. Next, we just break it down so you guys can see how many claims counted for each generic, brand, and specialty. So those are listed there. The generic dispensing rate was 85.8%, which is normal. Brand dispensing rate was 12.6%. And then specialty dispensing rate was 1.6. So normally we see across our book of business, the average rate of dispensing for specialty medications ranges in between 1 and 1.5%. Even though that percentage is very low, that usually accounts for 50% of your drug spend. So it's unfortunate, but we see that across almost every single client that we have. That's the norm.
Would specialty drugs are those something that become non-specialty drugs after a time frame, or is it always, I don't know how that stuff works.
There is some biosimilars, like for example, Humira is coming out with biosimilars this year. It's still classified as specialty, but the drug cost on those are about half the cost, if not less. So when we see those, we actually, because all specialty medications require a prior authorization, we will definitely contact the physician when they provide all the medical notes and see if that's an option. Next on the plan paid, for 2022, DuBois County plan paid was $637,000 approximately. That was an increase, again, of $106,000. And that contributed again against special medications and brand medications, and we'll speak more about that a little bit later. Your member paid was approximately $85,000. And then TrueScripts net program savings, again, we was able to divert $368,838 of programs. The plan paid 58.4%, the member paid 7.8%, and then TrueScripts net program savings again, the percentage diverted away from the plan was 33.8%. Next, we break down actually what the plan paid by each generic brand and specialty. Any questions on that before we go on to special medications? Okay, so the next page on specialty care refills, there was 84 claims that processed for special medications in 2022. There's 16 members utilizing those medications. The total drug cost for those 84 claims was $705,000. The plan paid $331,000. The member paid $4,900 approximately, and the total paid was $336,000. And then once again, the TrueScripts net program savings that we was able to divert away was $368,000. So more than half of what was actually contributed. You're going to see the list of specialty medications there. They're color coded. We had 8 out of the 15 specialty drugs that are enrolled in optimal savings. 4 of those specialty medications are enrolled in conservative savings into the program. And 3 of those specialty drugs are non-program eligible, meaning there's no assistance for these medications. Now I can tell you on number 7, Hizentra, you have 2 members taking those special medications, and that accounted for $159,000 of the plan paid. Unfortunately, those 2 members taking those medications did not qualify for optimal savings. Both members had a dosage increase this past year in 2022. So on one of the medications, the drug cost doubled, and then on the second one, it tripled. And so the reason on those doses increase is based on their weight. And so as they gain weight, the dosage has to be increased in order for their therapeutic take care of them. So it is unfortunate, but I mean, that's part of it. We see that a lot on special medications, but it is worth doing. So it matters on that.
As a percentage of the total or the plan paid cost versus the member paid, do specialty get treated differently than brand? Because it seems like on brand, don't you pay 40% or don't, what do you pay on brand?
On the actual copay.
Design?
Right, so if I want to take brand instead of generic, instead of $5, I pay a percentage of the cost, correct? And what is it, 20, 40%?
It's 20 for brand, 40, I think, for
Let's take the
And
same
40
price.
for what?
specialty.
They're not paying 40%.
There's still a cap. So in theory, you're paying 20% to the maximum. You have a $2,500 out-of-pocket maximum on prescription drugs.
Okay, so that's
So
where,
they're getting there quicker, but it's still a $2,500 cap. So if you were to look at the cost of the drug versus what they're actually paying, they're not paying 40% of the annual cost.
so like even in this one though, if there were 2 utilizing members of $160,000 worth of, or $180,000 worth of drug cost, shouldn't that member paid be at $5,000 minimum just for those 2?
Mr. Ludwig, I can speak to that too, if you don't care, Mark.
Yeah.
What happens is these copay foundations for the manufacturers, drug manufacturers, have to offer copay cards. And so what those copay cards actually are set up for is to take care of the member's share. So the reason that the copay is low, I mean, you can see for those 2 members, they paid $1,782 for the year for their medications,
Right.
which doesn't necessarily equivalent to the 20%, but those copay cards are applied secondary after insurance is applied to take care of their copay. And that's the whole reason the government regulates those drug manufacturers to offer those copay cards to take care of the member.
And so how does that benefit us? How do we get those funds?
So we take this member is taken care of first. If there's any funds left over in the copay card, we maximize those and take care of the remaining dollars onto the plan. So we leave no dollar on the table as far as the copay cards.
But in theory, right, the drug manufacturer is incenting that employee. If an employee had to come out of pocket with $2,500, they're gonna be asking their doctor for a different drug. So this is a way to keep the employee taking that drug. The drug manufacturer gives them money so that they don't have to come out of pocket as much.
So you're saying these 2 people in this case, they didn't even pay the $1,700, that was subsidized, or they did pay this? No.
They did pay the
They
same.
did.
They paid $1,700 out of pocket, and the additional, let's say it was $5,000 total. The
Yep.
additional $3,200 went where?
Back to you guys.
The employer, manufacturer sent it to us and it helps our plan?
And actually, if you want to think of it like a debit card So there's $12,000 on the debit card for a year, $1,000 for a month. If the member's copay is $500 a month, there's $500 left on that for the remaining month, but we're gonna take that $500 and apply it to the plan's cost of the drug. Does that make sense? Right at the time we process that medication. So the member has to be taken care of first with the $500, and then the next $500 will come off the plan cost.
And does that show up in that net program savings?
Yes, in the net program savings, yes, sir.
So we're not really saving that. They should, our employees should pay.
No, you are saving.
Theoretically, you are, but you're also paying for it.
We're paying for it, we're even.
Well, no, you're
Oh,
not.
Pharmacy
You're nowhere
gets the
close to
money,
even.
but the pharmacy gets the money.
Okay, I'll move on. Thank you. Anything else on this page? No, thank you.
All right, the next page is the formulary guard savings, and with the formulary guard, it's truly just a program that runs behind the scenes when members go to the pharmacy and process their drugs. So we was able to divert away $22,811 for the formulary guard savings. Next page is rebate history. So rebates received in 2022 accounted for $77,928. And then the third quarter 2022 rebate check will be dispersed this week from TrueScripts to DuBois County. Page 8, the overall savings summary. TrueScripts net program savings for special medications accounted for $368,838. Rebates accounted for $77,298. Less the RX administration fees. Formulary guard savings, again, $22,811. For net savings for January and through December 2022 of $438,531. Questions about the overall savings? Okay, we're going to skip to one more page. And the title of the next page that I want to discuss is the top 25 drugs by plan paid. So here you're going to see a list of the top 25 drugs again that the plan is paying. And I want to talk to you guys about a new cost containment program that TrueScripts has been rolling out and actually have been utilizing for a couple of years. So we've seen much success. 13 out of those 25 drugs are available through an international mail order source. So I worked with Mark to make sure, first of all, first and foremost, that your stop loss carrier will reimburse international mail order claims, and they will. So that's the first line that we always like to make sure that there is coverage. But it truly works no different than any other mail order that you would have, pharmacy, but it's through international. So it's through Canada. The company is called RX Protect. They have an office out of Louisville and out of Carmel as well. But how it works is a member would go into their physician's office, would get a new prescription because you can't transfer a prescription from the United States to Canada. But they would get a new prescription from their doctor and they would fax it to the RX Protect office, probably in Indianapolis would probably be you guys' point of contact. They would send it to them and then they would forward it on to McKesson. McKesson is a drug wholesaler that is not only in the United States but also in Canada. So this is the wholesaler McKesson who supplies all these medications to all pharmacies. Same one, but located in Canada. So they would fax that prescription to the Canadian warehouse of McKesson, and they would ship the member the medication. So the majority of these medications, whether they're brand or specialty, they're already getting in the mail anyway, but this is an option for them to get through the mail. But most importantly, their copay would be $0, and then DuBois County would save at least 50% on the drug cost. So I just wanted to present that to you guys. I can't tell you how much success we have had. I have 67 clients, and I bet I'm up to at least 40 that have implemented international mail order. It is a voluntary program, so just like any member could choose to go to any retail pharmacy, mail order pharmacy, they have the option to go to international. It's definitely not mandated, but it is a win-win not only for the member, but also for the plan as well.
Is the trying to think about how this would work. The member is this for generic drugs only or is this for brand?
This would only be for brand.
Okay. So it's gonna say otherwise, I guess their option would be, well, I can pay $5 copay or none. Or if they're paying 20%, they could say, I'll pay up to $2,500 this year, or I pay none if I order all of it through here. Is that correct? And it benefits them, for they don't pay the copay, and it benefits us because we get the same medicine at half the cost.
Half the cost. So for brand preferred and brand non-preferred, the tierings for those copays are 20% and 40%. So that's still pretty substantial. So they're still paying, I'm sure, at least, $100 if not more for their, especially for diabetic members that are taking these insulin injectables, Trulicity, Ozempic, they're very expensive. I mean, you're talking $1,000 a month. So their copay, instead of, $100 or $200 would be zero. And then the plan, instead of paying $1,000, would probably pay at least $500. I mean, so truly about half the cost is what we see. And I would be happy to, if you guys would like, I can actually set up a 20-minute conference call with the commissioners and RX Protect CEO if you guys want to hear more about the program. But it truly is no more than an international mail order that, it's no different than any other mail order except for the medications come straight from the McKesson wholesaler in Canada.
And your legal has something written up that this is good?
We have validated out with two attorneys, yes, 2 legal firms, but also we can provide you guys the contract and all the information. If you guys want to vet that with your legal team, you please feel so.
Yeah, I'd like to have that sent to us, you can give it to Mark and he'll pass it on.
Absolutely.
Did you do a projected savings?
Good enough just to look at it, nothing else?
I did not, because I wanted to wait till I had their approval first, but I would be happy to send an RX claims file the last 6 months of all brand medications to RX Protect, where they could do a saving analysis to let you guys know how much you would save and then the number as well.
And this is kind of indifferent from what Shelley's talking about here, but employees are likely already taking international medications anyway. Because they look on the back of their bottle, they probably think it's coming from the United States, but I've got some I'm taking from India. And it's a generic, but still, we're already in that international market, they might not even know it, so.
So like your medicine from India, you're actually buying it from a person here.
But it's a generic though too, so it's different, but.
There would be one more person in between. Now this would probably get it from India, Canada, instead of you buying it from somebody local. So it cuts out one more person that probably wants to get a bite of it. Yeah, we looked at this 5 years ago, I guess, or something, but I'd like to look at it, revisit it.
Okay. All right, I will get that submitted then, and then also send over the contract to Mark.
And again, if I'm on any of these expensive drugs, say they're just brand drugs, not specialty, this wouldn't cover anything specialty, right? Or does
No,
it?
they do carry special medications, and I can tell you just as an example, Stellar is probably about $25,000 per fill over 56 days. And I've been transitioning several members to take, Stellara through. If they don't qualify for optimal savings nutritional session care program is definitely the maximum amount of savings. Next would be international. Third would be copay card.
Okay.
And so, so we just can transition a member, and I literally just reach out to them, ask them if they would transition. 9 times out of 10 members have no clue what these medications are actually costing their employers. They have no clue. They're seeing the $10 and $5 copay a month. So it's not affecting their out-of-pocket. But once you educate them on what their employer's paying for that medication, and they're getting their medication straight from the wholesaler in Canada, they have no objections.
But you said those people currently taking it, they won't qualify. Would that be a new prescription, or does that mean that next time that the doctor writes it, they can transition?
Absolutely, yeah, anytime they can transition.
So if we gave 12 months on X, when the next 12 months comes up, now we ordered some a different way.
And usually it's
They
3
can
months.
just call their doctor next week and ask for a new script, that's all they need.
Okay. I wasn't understanding of that one.
And I can tell you, just so you guys know, I did look at Hizentra. It is not available through international, because that could have been a conversation that I could have had with those members taking those medications, especially since the dose increase and the drug increase, the price as well. But there's some medications that are not available, so that is one of them. But if there is any medication, like a Humira or whatever that is, costing the plan, they don't qualify, then I'd be happy to outreach, on behalf of the county, since we do manage the pharmacy benefits for DuBois County.
I don't think so from I'm sitting in my doctor's office, how does it change for me?
So if you go to your doctor's office, you're going to ask them that you need a new script, a new 90-day script with 3 refills, and you're going to get them the contact information, which will have flyers that'll say the information. First, you have to call RX Protect and just set up your profile with your address, or to make sure that you're not allergic to anything, get your doctor's information, but then you're going to go to the doctor's office, ask for a new refill, and say here, fax or electronically send my prescription to RX Protect, and then they're going to send it to McKesson and have your drug shipped that way. So it's going to process through them and not through two scripts.
Because every step is another barrier that means people won't utilize. So I didn't know how difficult it was gonna be.
Well, and I can tell you this too, like especially on the special medications, on those high cost dollar ones, we're happy to reach out to contact, our Trish member care team can reach out to the physician's office on behalf of the member to get a new script. But 9 times out of 10, that physician wants to hear from the member that they're okay with, sending a prescription to an international source.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing else in the book that you wanna go over today?
No. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out again.
Will do.
Morning. Morning, how are you?
Thank you.
Oh, it's stuck, it's staying, huh?
All right. Well, this is just gonna be, an annual year-over-year medical plan review. I left out the pharmacy stuff since I knew Sheldon was coming this morning. So we'll go through this. If you have any questions over anything Sheldon talked about, let me know. Really, if you go to page 6, you'll just see your unified contact. Sandy, Mark, you already know who these people are. These are the people that are supporting you from a unified perspective behind the scenes. Page 8 shows your current contract year, so your current expenses broken out by line item for the current plan year. Keep in mind your plan year runs November 1st through 10/31. So these are plan years. Shelley provided you with annual years, so the numbers are gonna look a little bit different on her reports versus ours. Then on page 10, so this is year over year again, you'll see from 11/1 of 20 to 10/31/21, you guys had 209 members covered on average versus the last plan year ending 10/31/22 on page 11, you had 211 average monthly enrollment. Your average age is 45.27 compared to Unified's book of business at 46 for this type of industry. You have 581 covered lives, that's down from 598 for the plan year ending 10/20/21. Your reinsurance contract is showing down the page. You have an $80,000 spec deductible with a $30,000 aggregating spec. Your specific stop loss contract is written on a 24/12, and your aggregate contract for last year was 15/12. You'll know that for this plan year, we were able to negotiate a paid contract, which means you have a 24/12 spec and a 24/12 ag coverage. So that's providing you with greater coverage than you have had since we took over. That was one of the kind of goals, I think, for the last 6 years was to get you to a paid contract. We inherited that 15/12 contract when we took over again 6 years ago, but we were able to get that in this plan year. Down the page, you'll see again your administration fees broken out on a PEPM, your organ transplants at the bottom, and then on the back page, page 11 or 12 shows your specific and aggregate stop loss premiums. Any questions on that? I'm happy to go over what all of these things are. I go through this every day, so I assume you all know, but I'm happy to talk about anything if you've got questions. Page 14 and 15 actually annualize your plan cost. So for the plan year ending 10/21, you had a net plan cost of $3,588,000. You'll look up there, you'll see how all of those were broken out. You had fixed costs of $765,727. You had ACA fees of almost $1,600. Your net medical plan costs were $2,820,000. Of that, you had $3,311,000 of actual claims. You had $491,000 worth of claims that were reimbursed to you. So why this is important, and I want to spend a minute here. If you look down the page, you'll see that you paid $605,000 in spec insurance premiums, and you paid $17,000 in aggregate premiums. You received back from the premiums that you paid the carrier, you received $491,000 back. That is 79% of the price that you actually paid, meaning the insurance company worked on about a 21% profit margin that year, okay? Insurance companies don't like that. That's a little too close for comfort for them. So that's what's driving your cost increase into 2022. You look at 2022, you paid $652,000 in fixed costs. They raised your fixed cost by $50,000. Your aggregate premium actually came down a little bit. And the reason for that is when you see an aggregate premium come down, what that's telling you is the vast majority of your costs are driven by large claimants, not by your general population. We already kind of know that, but it's important to point that out. You had $532,000 of the premiums that you paid last year reimbursed in spec claims. That's a 79.6% loss ratio. So again, ending last year, you had about almost 80% of the money that you paid the insurance company came back to you in the form of spec reimbursements. You'll know that we negotiated, I think it was about a 3% overall cost increase for last year. That includes spec and ag. So compared to your loss ratio, your stop loss, our negotiations for your stop loss is pretty stellar. I won't brag anymore on that, but we'll go on. 15 and 16, or 16 and 17, sorry. This is your total cost, fixed costs again, showing out here.
Can we stop for a second, Mark?
Yes, sir.
The healthcare blue book.
Mhm.
Can you tell me where we are with that? Because we have it's an $800 cost. We didn't have it the year before. So I thought that was something that we got out of.
You did get out of it, but federal government required new reporting last year. So Unified did the reporting. They outsourced that reporting to Healthcare Blue Book to remember all the machine readable files we probably talked about in April, May timeframe. You had certain requirements that the Fed said you had to make this year. We had to put a web link on your public facing website. That's what that $800 fee is paying for. That's all being done by an outsourced entity.
Okay. So it was in, it was out, now it's in.
It's not into the point of what you don't have Healthcare Blue Book in terms of being able to search for providers at low cost. They're simply providing a service that is government reporting. So you don't have access to the Healthcare Blue Book that you remember.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. 16 to 17 shows your actual plan cost. Again, broken out on an average cost per month. So your 2022 plan year, you were at about $1,546 per employee per month. On your claims, your estimated cost was about $18,560, including your fixed cost, and then your cost of benefits on a work hour. You're at $8.92 per hour worked. Your year-to-date employee contributions were about $155,000. Employees contributed about 35 cents per work hour towards your benefits, meaning that you guys had a net cost to the county of about $8.57 per work hour. The bottom of the page there, the annual cost per employee, again, you guys were at $18,560. This is Kaiser data comparing your plan against Kaiser Midwest. So in the Midwest, a PPO plan, which is what you guys have, the average cost for Midwest employers was $20,126. You guys are still below that by about $1,500 at $18,560. That number has creeped up, and you're going to see why in a couple of pages. If we break down then the next pages, 18 and 19, this shows your employer-employee cost share.
Yes, that's where you get the COBRA numbers from.
Yeah,
Like the COBRA number is based off that 18.5 per employee per year.
COBRA numbers are based off of your maximum liability. So when I look at developing your COBRA rates, I look at the max liability that's in your contract, both from a fixed cost as well as a claims cost standpoint. And that's what I base the COBRA rates off
So the
of.
COBRA rate would be a little higher, but it should be
Yeah,
higher
way
than this,
higher than that number.
like 20,000? Or like $1,500 more than this?
He wanted to know if that's what I use per member per month, like a,
For budgeting
for
purposes.
budgeting, and I said, no, I use the Cobra number.
She uses COBRA. That's how you have, well, that's how you're supposed to have a surplus at the end of the year, is because we should be funding the max liability and you should be spending less than max liability.
Thank you.
So what this page does on page 19, this brings in the actual cost share from the employee. This brings in the deductibles of $139,000. Employees also paid $213,000 in co-insurance and another $60,000 in co-pays. Total employee contributed amount then is $568,000, which is 13% of the total cost of the plan. Unified's book of business, average employer contribution, the employee pays about 28%. So again, your employees are paying substantially less, and that's not unusual with government, but you're paying substantially less than what the general market would do. Your plan is also, as you know, substantially richer than most plans. You have a $500 deductible if you do wellness, so we haven't seen, you're the only $500 deductible plan I still have in the entire country. So your plan is very rich compared to what I typically see. Even our other county governments in the state of Indiana, we run about $1,500 deductible plans. So again, just so for comparison purposes, you guys have had a pretty rich plan. We'll skip over the next two pages, which are just life insurance, and we'll go to 22 and 23. So in 22 and 23, these are your large claimant reports. In 2021 plan year, you had 13 claimants that accounted for about $1.5 million worth of claims. 522, sorry. So 13 claimants accounted for about $1.4 million in actual paid claims. Of those 13 claimants, 3 of them were heart related, 5 of them were cancer, and 2 of them were musculoskeletal claims. So when you look at wellness initiatives and things that you can prevent, there's probably at least 5 of those claims that could be lessened or mitigated if we had some wellness initiatives. In 2022, we had 16 claimants that accounted for $1.7 million in claims. Of those 16, again, we had 3 heart, we had 2 cancer, and then we had 1 very, very large premature baby claim that accounted for almost $400,000 of plan spend. So Marky has asked, you guys are obviously looking at what's driving your cost increases. Again, if I remove the large claimant population from your general claims, you're running on average about 2% year-over-year increase. Trend is running 7.5 to 9.6 for the last 3 years. You're well below trend in your general population spend. It is your large claimants becoming increasingly, as you heard Shelley say, increasingly costly. And so that's really where you want to focus as we look towards some redesigns of the plans this year, some different wellness initiatives is to really try to drive, increase our incentives to promote wellness is really kind of what you're going to need to look at. Otherwise, these folks just continue to get sicker and more expensive. And you'll notice this year we had 3 more that joined that list, right? So, so far this year, we have already have 1 that's at spec, and we're 3 months into the plan year. If I annualize the prescription drug spend based on the first 3 months of this year, you're going to be spending almost $300,000 more on prescription drugs than we did last year. So there are some things that we kind of need to look at. Your ag reports are showing on 24-25. Again, this just kind of gives you in 22, your look down in the, kind of this little section of the page, this is what we look at right here above the chart. You ran 107% of expected, and you were at 86% of your maximum liability. Okay, so where you should be in relation to your expected liability, I like to see you at about 80% of expected. You're trending up a little bit there. But you were better than the year before at 89%. So that's what's driving your cost increases. Keep in mind that when an insurance company develops your rates and your cost, they build in a 25% quarter from what they expect claims to be to what they say they will cover claims beyond, right? So that quarter, for the quarter, we should be at about 75%. We're at 86 ending last year. Again, 80 is pretty standard because of market competition. Insurance companies will sometimes, we can negotiate down. So 80 is not too bad. 86, and again, claims are up this year. We've had one bad month, 2 good months so far. So we'll see how that plays out as we look ahead. Next page is just kind of gets into your utilization. 27, I'll go through that. You can compare year over year. In 27, your total claims paid, 20% of that was inpatient hospitalization for about $734,000. We would compare that to our normal population in the red. We would expect to see about 19,000 or 19%, or about 668,000. So you're above that in your inpatient. The other area you're down though in surgery outpatient, you're at 14%, almost 15%. We would expect to see somewhere around 19%. Your prescription drugs, as you know, is a little high at 17.8. We would expect that to be at about 15.8 based on your population. And then again, your cancer patients down there are driving your chemo radiation treatment at 10.5%. We would expect for a group this size to have about 7.2% of their claims coming related to cancer. So this just kind of gives you an idea of what your spend looks like compared to our normalized population. Your claim stratification on page 29, you had 20 claims that were over $25,000. And you had 54% of your population that had claims less than $999. So if you look down at the bottom of the page, you had about 13% of your population account for about 81.5% of your claims last year. We used to call it the 80-20 rule. It's starting to become more of a 90-10 rule because our large claimants are becoming more expensive across the board. So that just kind of gives you that. Page 31 shows you your employee, spouse, and dependent cost. So you guys had about 34% of your claims were actually employee claims. We would expect to see about 60% of your claims, 59% of your claims, meaning that your spouse's claims are about double what we would expect them to be. We do have employers that do spousal surcharges. We have employers that do spousal carve-outs to try to, meaning that if a spouse is employed in another employer, they have to take that employer's insurance. They can't be on your plan. We've not done anything like that here, but that is becoming a fairly normal, meaning that you would cover that.
We have a working spouse rule, but we don't say they can't be on it.
So what would that mean?
They have to take theirs and their claims go through them first, but then they come back.
Then anything that claim doesn't pay comes back here.
So we're secondary.
So if they have a very high deductible plan, we're gonna get a lot of hit.
If they have a high deductible plan, we usually get hit before their plan does.
Well, they get hit, but then you have to come back and file for us and ours pays before theirs does.
What would the other option be?
The other option is to say if you are employed at an employer that has health, that provides health insurance coverage, you cannot be on that plan period.
We could say we don't allow as a secondary.
Correct. And your plan, let's face it, guys, your plan is so cheap for what an employee pays in contributions. they're gonna put their spouse on here. If they have claims at all, it makes sense financially for them to put their spouse on your plan. So,
I
something
know
to think
I was
about.
gonna say, I know there's some employers that the employee's free.
Yeah.
You add somebody else and it's astronomical.
Even when when I had my own group, I paid 100% of employee coverage, and I charged the employees almost 90% of spouse and children coverage. So, just food for thought.
Okay.
We're gonna skip over the TrueScript stuff there. So looking again back to page 39 would be our next one. So we had 628 primary care visits last year, accounting for about 96%. That's right on target with what we would expect. We had 890 specialist care visits. This is something I think that needs to be looked at. If you look at 2021, you had 736 specialist visits. You see that, these were changing format from year to year, so that's why these pages look a little bit different. But do you see that? We had 736 specialist care versus 890 last year. That's a red flag, because specialist care means there's a disease state or there's something that's required a specialist. These are not primary care visits. These are trending up. And that right there is not a good sign when we're looking at utilization patterns. Nothing really else on that page that stuck out at me, to be honest with you. That just kind of gives you how your breakout is on your claims. We do have a little bit higher emergency room visits than we should. We always have had here.
I thought we were getting better.
You're getting better than you were, but you're still a little high compared to what we would see normally. And again, that's because we don't have any, our plan design doesn't really, what's the word I'm looking for? Discourage emergency room. I have some plans where you pay a copay and then deductible and coinsurance. So you actually pay twice before the plan starts.
I thought we had something in our plan about if it's not emergent, then it did pay, you have to pay more.
That's true. If it's emergent, then we pay higher rate than if it's not emergent.
Who gets to make the determination, how they code it
It's coded at the hospital.
So if you come in and you got a bellyache, this wasn't an emergency, they should code it that way.
Yeah, and you'll see in a minute, our utilization for really, we're gonna look in section 2, you'll see it, it's a lot of children. We're seeing a lot of children emergency visits. So not always emergent, but when your kid's screaming, I guess your kid's an emergency.
Emergency to you.
Emergency to you is exactly right. All right, this shows your, page 41 shows your PPO savings. So you had about $2,700,000 of savings in your PPO. This is Patoka Valley. I'll stress right now, guys, you're running through Patoka Valley at about a 47.5% discount for billed charges. We've looked at, and I've talked to Alyssa at Patoka Valley, United runs an 11% discount at Memorial. So looking at other networks, looking at other carriers is not an option. You just, if anybody tells you that it is, you're going to be losing substantial. And I showed Marky the email that I got from Alyssa saying, here's our discounts, here's Anthem's and United's discounts at Patoka, or at Memorial. So you're at the best place from a PPO discount perspective that you could be.
So can you tell me, I know this is a 2-hour discussion, but just briefly, how does that work? If I go in and I get a 47% deduction because I went through this carrier or this provider instead of somebody else, it still costs the hospital the same amount to run the thing. So how does that negotiation work? Or where does that other 40% go that we're not paying?
They keep it. That you're not paying? So let's say that you were with United, right?
Yes.
And your bill charges at Memorial, so you go in and you have a $1,000 procedure.
Yes.
You're gonna pay, what is that? $630 of that is gonna be paid with Patoka Valley, because you're gonna take your 47% discount.
Right.
Right? But if you were with United, you're gonna pay $890 of that $1,000 charge, because they only have an 11% discount at Memorial.
So Memorial just does the same procedure for less profit?
Correct. Because, and the reason they do that is because Patoka Valley has more volume, so that by providing the hospital with more volume, then they receive a greater discount. It's,
You're a better customer, you're funneling everybody to them.
and that's why Patoka Valley has been so popular in this region. The only, I mean, if you look in the region, the only employers that are not in the Patoka Valley network are, and they will be now because of the United rep, but the only ones that were not in the Patoka Valley network were employers that had large percentages of their employees outside of the Patoka Valley footprint. You know, if you look at Master Brand, they got people all over the United States, Kimball, and that made sense for them. But now that United is the wrap network, you're probably going to see those employers come back into the Patoka Valley, because now we're covering their out-of-state employees with the national wrap network. But that's got significant discounts. Does that help?
It does. Mark, you're gonna have about 5 minutes.
Okay. Then let's get back, let's go to 45. This just shows you your top providers again. Nothing that's unusual there. You now know that Deaconess is going to probably become partners with Memorial, providing all the legislation is worked out. We do not know, and people have asked me a million times, how is this going to affect Patoka Valley? I honestly can't tell you yet. That announcement was just made, but that's something that we're going to need to watch fairly closely. That was a little bit of a surprise to the market, I think. I don't think people thought Deaconess would have the ability to win that contract. I know IU was bidding heavily, Ascension was bidding heavily on that work. Ascension, the Franciscans were in heavily with the Catholic, whatever. So Deaconess won it. It's going to be an interesting transition. You'll probably see some, Marky asked, how's this going to turn over or affect us short term? You'll probably see some turnover in Memorial employees short term, but it's not going to affect your contracts. We'll look and see next year if the regulations are going to happen so late into this year. I don't think it'll affect you for 24, but your real impact could come in 25. The next one just shows section 2 is your preventative care report. I won't go through this, but it shows you the number of this is preventable conditions. So if you look, for example, section 2, I'm on page 2. So for example, these are what we would look at and how many people are actually, what our cost has been for these services. So digestive system cancer, we have 12 patients that have been treated for that with 25 services. Your plan paid $51,000, or your charges were $51,000, the plan paid $17,600, and that's your average per patient. We skip on down though to page 4. This is your screening summary. So again, I mentioned we want to kind of bump up. This shows your compliance for the year prior to and the year here. So breast cancer screenings, this past year, we had 139 members that were eligible. We had 67 of those 139 that actually had a preventative breast screen. We had 72 employees that did not, or 72 members that did not, meaning that we had a compliance rate of about 48%. So when you're looking at diabetic screenings, for example, going down the page, we had 231 eligible members. We had 216 that did not have a diabetic screen. That's about a 6.5% compliance rate. So we've got some work to do when it comes to compliance. This report, Marky, I gave you this, right? Yes. So this is kind of what we look at to say, what can we do? What kind of things do we need to put in place? We're talking a little bit with other clients about putting the diabetic, they go in the skin, they stick to your arm, because those cost a little bit more than the diabetic monitors, but they're easier for people to use. So we're lowering the barrier to people being more compliant, and they're liable to stick their monitor reader up there more times a day than looking at their, so those are the kinds of things that we start to talk about, and how do we encourage compliance? We gotta lower the barrier to compliance or people won't comply. That is plan review. Sorry if I went over it.
But you're good.
Any questions?
No, I guess there's things we need to consider, such as the deductible, the Canadian,
Marky and I have kind of been working on some plan design issues. We've talked last week, we've got some plan designs that we're working on tweaking for some new plan designs, maybe offering a second plan design for 23. So there's some things that we are working on, not ready to talk about yet. One thing you want to talk about today though is we need to talk about telemedicine. So are you doing that or am I?
You go ahead.
So you know that you had telemedicine services provided through Ascension. Ascension announced last month that they are exiting that market as of March 31st. So we needed to find a new telemedicine provider. You are getting some decent utilization through your telemedicine option, meaning those folks can call a telemedicine doctor and get prescribed medicine without having to go to a physical doctor or worse yet, the emergency room. We've looked at 6-7 different vendors. The best we found is going to be Teladoc again. You were with Teladoc a couple of years ago. We moved away for pricing. They're coming in at $4 per employee per month. And that was, we were able to negotiate that down from, I think they started at $475. So again, we were able to negotiate that down negotiate that down for you, but that's the best that we have. The good news with Teladoc is through Unified, it is a single sign-on, so they can use their Unified app that they already have, push a button and get connected directly to Teladoc. It's single sign-on, so there is some ease of administration. We're waiting to hear back from Teladoc that if you had an account the last time we had Teladoc, whether that account is still active or whether you need to sign up. So, and we need approval for that, right?
Yes. So that's twice what we're paying.
That's cool. Yep. And it's the cheapest thing in the market.
Yeah, everything else was way north of 5, so.
Yeah, we only had, what, $4,700 budgeted or some amount, or $5,000 for this year?
Which is probably why Ascension decided that it wasn't profitable and it's not doing it anymore, so.
So now we would have to get an additional appropriation?
Well, I think it's getting paid through the health plan, isn't it? Didn't we go straight through the health plan?
Ascension, I thought it is.
Okay, Teladoc is just part of the plan?
Yeah, so it was
Well,
just straight up.
Teladoc used to be billed independently through you guys.
It did because we could save you money. Now it's gonna just be billed as part of your monthly
So you have
administration.
to just pay the bill to them.
Do we wish to keep that service for the employees?
I think if we're getting utilization, we should.
Even at the double cost, if you look at the price of an ER visit or something, I mean.
It only takes one.
You know, it's, even though it double, it's still gonna be a cost advantage.
I think what would be important for us as a board, whenever we have these employee department head meetings or employee meetings, the safety meetings, we push it. Because if we can get a couple people to do this, that pays for your month.
That's right.
People are creatures of habit, and if they're used to calling a doctor every time they get sick, and it's not in front of them to call Teladoc.
They're most likely gonna go to an urgent care, which is gonna cost you substantially more. And if not an urgent care, they're gonna end up in the ER.
There's still some that don't trust it, or it's not what they're used to. My wife being one.
Or they call, they don't get an answer, then they go to the doctor.
Right. And I only called one time, and the guy I talked to was okay, but it was hard to understand. And
I only use it once. I needed to use it once.
right, I only need to do it once. So the recommendation, Marky, from you would be to continue with the Teladoc folks. And would we have would there be any lack of service there? Would we just one stop, one start?
Ultimately, that's what's gonna happen. One will start and the other will start on April 1st. That's our game plan. So, Unified and Teladoc already committed to turn around. We should be able to do it, so.
Yeah, move forward with it? All right, I'll make a motion, we approve it to have Marky sign an agreement with Teladoc at $4 per employee per month for telemedicine services for the remainder of the year.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
It's an even $4.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
guys.
Guess we will recess, the Board of Commissioners meeting and start the Drainage Board hearing at 10:30.
Yeah, we can stop that and then we'll start it. I'm gonna try to organize it. Okay, thank you.